Hey, what is going on, guys? Represent Stealth here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the most picked champions in solo queue for patch 9.11 by pro players. And then for those of you guys who are unaware, right now for club.gg, if you download Icon, which is a new app that's similar to club.gg, and you play 5 challenges on the app, then you can earn a free 5,000 coins for club.gg. So just a super easy way to gain extra coins for this season in club. If you guys haven't heard of club, haven't heard of Icon, they're both apps that allow you to play challenges, and these challenges can really help improve your game, and you can also earn skins at the same time by doing so. So link will be down in the description below to both club.gg and to Icon. So to start it off in the top lane, we're going to go over the top 3 for every single role. So the number 1 pick top laner in this patch is Ryze. So Ryze is a champion right now that just does very well. He's a very safe blind pick top laner if you know how to play him. Most matchups he can do very well right now. A lot of bruiser top laners being played, and you run the phase rush on Ryze. You have the ability to very easily kite away from most bruiser top laners. A lot of Ryze players right now as well are going for Seraphs, and then they're going for Righteous Glory as their second item. So the Righteous Glory there just provides yourself with more tankiness, better engage, so you can find picks really well with that. You got your point and click route, so if you can just pop your Righteous Glory, run at the opponent, just get the point and click route, then you can find some really good picks with the item. So if you haven't tried Ryze top out with this like Seraphs into the Righteous Glory build, it is very popular right now in 9.11 in the higher elos. So next up here is going to be Miko. So kind of similar to Ryze, just a very safe blind pick top laner. She doesn't really lose any matchups right now, just a very safe pick. It's very hard to actually jump onto Miko and do anything to her in the laning phase because of her W, because of her root and her slow. So she's just a great blind pick top for this patch. A lot of pros right now are going for the Glacial Augment setup, to where you take the Glacial, you go for the GLP and the Twin Shadows. Now you can still go for the AD Miko build, but this more so of the slow build is a lot more popular right now. It's just a little bit easier to execute, and it does have the potential for you to just kite out a lot of these bruiser top laners super well in this patch. And then lastly here, Aatrox. Aatrox across most elos in this patch is being played a ton, and it's for good reason. Aatrox is a very, very strong top laner right now. He is getting nerfed next patch, 9.11 or 9.12, so I do think he's going to drop down, but if you can play him in this patch, you can play a good Aatrox right now, then he's definitely one of the strongest bruiser top laners for the current patch. So if we move into the jungle now, the most picked for this patch is Lee Sin. So not too much of a surprise here. Lee Sin is always one of the most picked in the higher elos, no matter the meta, no matter the patch. Just has a lot of playmaking potential in the early game, a lot of carry potential if you know what you're doing on the champion. I think a better version of Lee Sin right now, who is the number 2 pick jungler in the higher elos, is Elise. So Elise, another really good early game jungler, has been indirectly buffed a lot over the past couple of patches here with Runic Echoes changes, with Scuttle Crab changes, and I think that Elise is definitely one of the strongest junglers across most elos in 9.11. And then the number 3 most picked jungler is Sejuani. So Sejuani, one of the best tank junglers for this patch, along with Nunu. I would say that Nunu a bit better for the lower elos. Sejuani is probably a little bit stronger for the higher elos. Sejuani paired up with a lot of the meta bruiser top laners is really strong. Just the ability for you to gank those lanes, get a very easy proc off on your stun because of somebody like a Darius, just being able to easily hook the opponent in, get 2 auto attacks off. You get 2 procs of your E, instant stun, and there's really not too much the enemy can do against that if you are playing with a couple of melee champions. So Sejuani's skirmish is just really good, just has the ability to very easily lock down a target and burst them out, and I think that she does provide very good scaling into the mid to late game as well. Gonna scale a lot better than a Lee Sin or an Elise. So if you're not super confident in your early game that you can snowball, then Sejuani is always gonna be a very safe pick. And then moving on to the mid lane, the number 1 pick is Sylas. So Sylas is pretty much the go-to blind pick mid laner for 9.11. He doesn't really lose hard to any matchups right now. He's a very strong skirmishing mid lane champion, scales pretty nicely into the mid to late game, so you can't really go wrong with picking Sylas in the current meta. Similar to Aatrox though, I think he is getting nerfed in 9.12, so he's probably going to drop down a little bit, but if you can use Sylas in 9.11 right now, and you know how to play the champion, then you are going to have a lot of success on him. So the number 2 pick here is Aurelia, and I wouldn't really recommend Aurelia right now in the mid lane across most elos. If you can play the champion to a very high level, then she is still a pretty solid pick, and that's why pros are still playing her in this patch, but you really need to be able to play Aurelia well right now in order for her to be worth picking over other mid lane champions. She still does have great playmaking potential in the early game, really good solo carry potential, but if you can only play her at an average level, then I would be staying away from her for this patch. And then for the number 3 pick, it's Twisted Fate. Now this isn't your standard Twisted Fate you've seen in previous metas to where they go for Comet, Rod of Ages, Lichbane. This is actually AD Twisted Fate with the Kleptomancy. I'm sure a few of you guys, or most of you guys, have probably heard of this setup that's been going around recently, but there was an EU West Challenger player who I think hit rank 1 using this setup on TF, where you take the Kleptomancy, you go for Trinity Force into Rapid Fire Cannon, and then with Zen, there's a lot of variations on the build. Like some people, Bjergsen goes like Trinity Force into Phantom Dancer and then Infinity Edge. Some players go Trinity Force into Infinity Edge and then Rapid Fire Cannon. So there's a lot of variations to the build, but the best win percent build right now is that Trinity Force into Rapid Fire Cannon and the Wit Zen. With Twisted Fate's W, with the ability for you to proc the Kleptomancy with that, you can just constantly be looking for blue cards in the laning phase. You can constantly be looking to just auto attack. It's especially good in melee matchups. Does struggle a little bit into ranged matchups. If you're in like a matchup up against, say, like a Vel'Koz or a Xerath where you can't really get into auto attack range, then I would say it's probably going to be more worth it for you to just go for the standard AP build. But if you're in a matchup to where you can constantly proc the Kleptomancy, the gold generation is super good with Twisted Fate with this setup, because you also have your passive, which generates you extra gold. You got the Kleptomancy there, so you're just going to be able to hit a very early spike if you can get a lot of Klepto procs in the laning phase. So for AD carry in this patch, the most picked in the higher elos right now is Sivir, and Sivir across all elos is undoubtedly the strongest AD carry that you can play for this patch. So Sivir's just been indirectly buffed a ton over the past few patches, Essence Reaver changes, other AD carries getting nerfed. Like there's been a ton of other AD carries getting nerfed recently. Sivir has been untouched, and it just leads to her getting slowly and slowly stronger as the patches do progress. She's just a very safe pick. You're always gonna have a great laning phase on Sivir. You're not really gonna lose lane on the pick. She scales very, very well into the mid to late game, always provides her team with something. You provide your team with good wave clear, good utility with your ultimate, so even if your team falls behind, you're always gonna provide them something, which is great to have in an AD carry for solo queue. So the number 2 pick is Caixa, and Caixa is basically your best hyper scaling AD carry for 9.11. She scales super well into the mid game there. You go for the Manamune build into the Rageblade and the Nashor's Tooth, just a very hybrid setup, so it's very difficult for the enemy team to actually prioritize resists against you, because if they build magic resist, you're still going to be dealing quite a bit of AD damage. If they build armor, still going to have a lot of AP, so it's just a very good setup, and it makes it so that once you do reach the mid to late game, you're still going to be able to pump out a lot of damage no matter what the enemy team comp is building. And then for the number 3 pick is Ezreal. So Ezreal right now is being built kind of similar to Caixa, where you go for this very hybrid setup. You go for the Manamune Iceborne Gauntlet, and then after that, you pretty much build him like an AP champion, or a hybrid AP champion. You go for the Hextech Gunblade, you go for the Luden's Echo, so you do provide yourself with a lot of mixed damage, which makes it pretty difficult for the enemy team to prioritize resistances against you. I would say right now, for the majority of elos, Ezreal actually isn't the strongest pick. I would say there's just easier to execute AD carries that are a lot more consistent than Ezreal, like the Sivir for example, but I do still think that if you can play him at a good level, he can be a pretty strong AD carry for 9.11. And then down in the support role to round out the video, Yuumi is the most picked support by a long shot right now, so I think it does somewhat have to do with the champion being new and players wanting to play her a lot to get used to what the best setups are on the champion, how to play the champion most effectively. So I think the pick rate right now is a little bit misleading to how strong she is. However, I do still think that if played at a high level, Yuumi is definitely one of the strongest supports right now. She's just a pick that scales extremely well into the mid to late game. Her early game is actually pretty good as well right now after the hot fixes she got. I'm pretty sure they were last patch, and she is a champion that is very unique and does take a little bit of time to get used to, but I do think if you can put some games on Yuumi, if you get the practice into her, then she can be a worthwhile pick in solo queue for sure. So at the number 2 spot here is Lux. So Lux has just become a lot more popular down in the support role, kind of after people realized that Aftershock just works very well on Lux support. It does give her very good survivability in the laning phase and throughout the game. It makes it so that if you are going up against a dive champion, you're not just going to get bursted out right away if you do get hooked by them in the laning phase. So it does make your laning phase a lot more stronger against a lot of meta picks right now. She also is basically the better version of Morgana in the sense that she is a very good pick champion. Finding picks with your bind in the laning phase in the mid to late game does allow your team to play off that very nicely, and you can just carry by hitting good binds with Lux in solo queue. She does also have a lot more burst potential than the Morgana pick. If you do hit a bind at level 6, your ability to burst that champion out is really good, especially if you're playing with a strong early game AD carry. So overall, Lux is a great carry support for 9.11. And then for Recon's kind of been coming back in the meta here slowly but surely. Xayah is seeing a lot more play right now, which does make Recon stronger. He's also gotten a couple buffs a few patches ago, got a bug fix, I'm pretty sure it was last patch, so he has been getting directly stronger quite a bit, and he's a champion that's great for solo queue. Even without being paired up with Xayah, your ability to engage from a super long range is great with Recon. You do have the ability to pull that trigger and be the carry for your team with that strong engage, so I do think that if you can play Recon to his limits, he is a very, very strong pick in 9.11. So that is going to be all for this video, guys. Those are the top 3 most played champions by pro players in solo queue for patch 9.11. So hopefully this video does help you out and give you a good idea of what are the best champions you can play in this patch if you can play them at a high level. So with that being said, if you guys did enjoy this video, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have yet to already. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.